VA's Office of Blind Rehabilitation Services estimates there are approximately 130,000 veterans in the United States who are legally blind, and more than 1 million veterans who have low vision that causes a loss of ability to perform necessary daily activities. In this era of instant communication, where we get overwhelmed with data or facts that are useless to unsighted individuals, wouldn't it be great if we could count on news focused on real problems that impact the daily lives of veterans without sight? Introducing Wisdom for Blinded Veterans, an advanced informational portal designed by blind veterans specifically for blind and vision-impaired vets that, like them, are facing challenges every day. Hi, my name is Ben, and I know the frustration. I've struggled in day-to-day tasks for over 20 years since I lost my eyesight. One of my biggest challenges has always been trying to stay up to date with the latest information of my eye disease, local news, and the ever-changing technology. I wanted to be able to have one single site that merged all the data scattered, and that's why we created Wisdom for Blinded Vets. This is a portal that can be accessed via the web, a smartphone app, telephone, email, text messaging, or Amazon's Alexa. It integrates with readers such as JAWS or Apple's VoiceOver and various other tools to give you a seamless experience. This portal will keep us updated on a variety of topics and will share knowledge that can help make our lives easier and more fulfilled. Highlights of the topics covered on the portal include podcasts, events, news, blind rehab and training, information on the BVA and other groups, a list of coordinator and bros list, online groups to interact with fellow vets facing the same challenges, and much more. Give us a try. You will not be disappointed. To learn more about us, visit our website www.w4bv.org. If you're interested in sharing your knowledge, please consider becoming a contributor by logging into our portal and going to the contributor section for more information. Wisdom for Blinded Veterans, transforming blind veterans' lives.
You're listening to W4TB Radio from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we share some wisdom to help you navigate the seas to stay in calm waters. Please visit us on the web at w4tb.org or drop us an email at feedback@w4tb.org. You can also download the W4TB radio app at the Apple Store or Google Play. Please share the knowledge and tell a friend. Now, back to the show. The United States Department of Veterans Affairs is a cabinet-level executive branch department of the federal government, charged with providing lifelong health care services to eligible military veterans at the 170 VA medical centers in the United States. And that's where we come in. Live from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, this is Insight to the VA. The VA is there to help us. Let's get started. Welcome to Insight to the VA. Insight to the VA. With your host, Benjamin Keeley.
Hey, Brian, thank you very much for always making us look good. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Insights of the VA. Tonight we have a great friend of mine, a great mentor, and the head of the BVA, the Blind Veterans Association. He's the executive director and has been just a great person to know and be. And his name is Don Overton. Don, how are you doing, my good friend?
Hey, Ben, it's always a pleasure to be in your company, sir. Thank you for the high accolades there. It's a lot to live up to. We do our best to advocate on behalf of our stakeholder communities, but it's been an honor and privilege to serve alongside you as well. So looking forward to the opportunity to have this conversation.
Well, great. So how's the BVA going right now? A lot of change in D.C. with the politics. How's that affecting you guys?
It's an interesting time for sure. I think everybody's being impacted at some level or another. As a congressionally chartered veteran service organization, and we do have that unique honor and privilege of being the only congressionally chartered veteran service organization uniquely dedicated to our blind and low vision veteran community. It gives us a direct voice to Congress, so everybody's aware. Whenever you go through a change in administration, it results in a lot of changes. There are tremendous changes taking place right now. We're monitoring everything. We're making sure that our advocacy stays as focused as possible on blind rehabilitation service, the prosthetic and sensory aid, transportation, the different program lines within the Department of Veterans Affairs that our stakeholders utilize day in and day out. So we're trying to make sure if there's areas there that we need to step in and lend a hand in an advocacy perspective with the new administration, and that's what we're triaging right now. And we've been busy primarily of late. I'm sure folks have heard a lot about the different contract cancellations. We had some potential impacts around accessibility, particularly digital accessibility challenges with some potential contract cancellations. We were able to reach out, work both with the liaisons at the White House as well as with the Department of Veterans Affairs, and salvage some contracts that were slated for cancellation. We helped to highlight the critical need for those, and they were reinstated within 24 hours. So we're confident that their folks are listening and paying attention when advocacy effectively addresses some concerns.
Well, that's good to hear. I know that in Broward and Dade County, we've experienced some of the let-goes or the early retirements where like secretaries and stuff like that are no longer able to check the voicemails and things like that. So we're feeling it down here also.
Yeah, Ben, I think we're all going to deal with the ripple effects of some of what's going on right now. I think the veteran community, most of the traditional veteran service organizations and military service organizations are collectively looking at opportunities to intervene. I know the new VA Secretary Collins, is positioning himself for direct meetings with all of us so that he can hear directly from us and our concerns. And so we're looking forward to that on the heels of our annual congressional testimony for everybody over the last week or so.
Yeah. So how did the testimonies go?
Yeah, the testimony is always a great time for us. We submit a written testimony for the record, and in that testimony, we really try to look at the primary areas of concern. I touched on some of them earlier. Accessibility, transportation, blind rehabilitation service, prosthetic and sensory aid services. That's the issuance of most of our different types of assistive technologies and devices. We're also sensitive to the needs of our women veterans to ensure that prosthetics are designed to meet their unique needs. We all have different body compositions. Obviously, men and women are different. We do want to make sure that there's sensitivity there and that they're getting the best quality of device and or prosthetic to meet their unique needs. And outside of that, we're still looking around the service dog arena, some areas of concern around that sector. There's a couple of other touch points around vision research, trying to make sure that we continue to advance funding there. But the testimony itself is always kind of fascinating. Our national president, right now, our national president is Mr. Paul Mims. Paul has the honor of delivering the testimony for us. And so Paul did a phenomenal job. We opted to take a storytelling approach to testimony this year. Paul gave a firsthand account of the unique challenges faced by blind and low vision veterans and trying to access both the physical and digital front doors of the Department of Veterans Affairs. And nobody's as well positioned as Paul. Not only is he a consumer of VA services, but Paul is a former visual impairment service team coordinator. He's a former counselor at a vet center. And so he's had a lot of touch points, both internal and external to VA, and I think he did a phenomenal job. And the feedback we've gotten from the Hill, from legislative aides across the area, are they're engaged with our concerns and our priorities. And so we're looking forward to the year ahead. Last thing, and I'll pivot away, the biggest piece that we're working on, and we almost had it over the finish line in the second session of the last Congress, the 118th, is a new federal advisory committee on accessibility. And we're championing this because we are concerned, like we're seeing right now in a change of administration. We don't want to lose continuity of service delivery and all of the hard work that's gone into the last several years of remediation efforts around the different accessibility challenges. And so a federal advisory committee would be staffed by blind and low vision veterans, different folks out of the veterans and military service organizations, as well as some VA employees. So direct report to the secretary, but it would allow the secretary to learn where some of the pain points might exist, and it just help to ensure, again, that we have that continuity during any transfers of power within the agency.
I think that will definitely help. Can you, I know in Florida, we're having a lot of issue with VIS retiring or stepping down. We lost good bros in the East Coast mid-state. We're losing people every day, and they're not replacing them. And now that there's a mandate, no new hires, what's happening with that, you think?
Yeah, obviously, everything right now is on the table, and I think that's what you're seeing. You're really seeing this really broad approach. And again, if I can highlight one area, is at least from our perspective, as soon as we identified and we learned of an area of concern with a cancellation or a proposed cancellation of a contract, we were able to engage with leadership and take corrective action. And so it's going to require a lot of proactive advocacy right now. Ben, I think the most important thing that Blinded Veterans Association is preparing to do is, during the pandemic, we had to suspend our care review program. And the care review program was critically important. What that was BVA, as a result of its congressional charter, would go around and we would inspect the 13 residential blind rehabilitation centers. We would meet with leadership at those facilities. We would meet with staff. We would meet with veterans, and we would produce reports, comprehensive reports, looking at every aspect of service delivery, of access, of challenges, of concerns. It's, if you can imagine, it's everything from the quality of the pillows that are in the rooms for veterans that are there, to the quality of food, service delivery, equipment issuance, and then just overall staff feedback and staff satisfaction. And we're going to really ramp that up. We just got authorization. I met with VA Central Office last week. We have a green light to resume care review, but we're going to really scope out and enhance and improve. What we want to do is not only focus on those 13 blind rehabilitation centers, but also look at the VISOR outpatient clinics across the country, look at the Victor, which are some more advanced low vision type clinics. But we also want to have engagement and look at the entire VIST continuum of care, VIST and BROS. And so we're going to really try to expand this. Why it's important is because, the way that blind rehabilitation service works is, a VIS coordinator is assigned to a VAMC, to a VA medical center. They're a direct report right within that staffing chain of command. Then they have touch points with the National Program Office under the National Blind Rehabilitation Service Program, and there's national program consultants. And so there's layers that are there, but oftentimes what we find is those VIS coordinators are semi-isolated down at the VAMCs and don't always get all of the support that they need. And the way the VA has structured some of the incentives internally, it's more advantageous. Most of our VIS coordinators, have social work backgrounds. It's a lot of case management and counseling service. So social work is a perfect field for that. But they've incentivized social work in other departments and made it more appealing. And so we're losing some VIS coordinators towards, just transitioning into different roles and responsibilities. So we need to champion and advocate both on the budgetary appropriation side of things to try to get the right level of compensation to the VIS coordinators and to scale that, so to be able to champion that and also look at, a couple of years ago, Ben, and I know you're sensitive to this. I don't know that everyone else that might be tuning in is, but a few years ago, the Blind Rehabilitation Service Directive expanded. The case roster went from just blind veterans, just legally blind veterans, which was anywhere from 130 to 150,000 individuals on the entire case roster for the VIS across the country. They expanded, which was a good thing to do, to low vision veterans as well. Unfortunately, those rosters swelled to over 1.1 million. And so if you can imagine what that's like for that VIS that's maybe on an island in a more rural, remote area, and they went from maybe trying to care annually for 100 veterans to now having over 1,000 veterans and no additional support, that's hard, right?
Oh, it is. And as you know, I am an ambassador for the BVA and responsible for West Palm, Dade, and Broward. And one of the biggest things that we're hearing from the VIS coordinator and the bros is they went from 200 to 300, and now they have 700, and the requirements are even more. I think it's great that that you're bringing back the program. I know my main location that I go to is the VRC up in West Palm. And Gavino's always asking me, "Hey Ben, when are we getting our audit? I want to learn. I want to figure out how to do things better." And it's good to hear the feedback from the BRCs and from the chief over there that they're very interested. And then what you were saying about saying that they're going to add review to the VIS and the bros, I think that's great, because one of the things I see, and I'm maybe a little unique, you can tell me, but I actually have 3 different counties and 2 different hospitals or medical centers, between West Palm and Miami. And it's 2 different stories, And so you have one VIS coordinator going down this direction, one VIS coordinator going down this one, and another one going down another path. And then you got 2 medical centers going down 2 different paths. So I think standardization and reviews so we can make those recommendations is something that's going to be very helpful.
I would agree, Ben, and I really appreciate you bringing that up. And that's what we look towards. We do understand that, service delivery is always going to be unique to the provider, and everybody's going to have special skill sets and talents in their approach towards case management. There's been different, policies and guidelines that have been issued across time, whether, somebody's a recent hire or somebody who's nearing the end of their career. And that's what we hope. And I know that there's sensitivity around the National Program Office towards reaching those goals as well. So that's what we look at. And I also appreciate you bringing up the ambassador program, because ultimately ambassadors are going to be really a force multiplier for us and engagement in these opportunities to conduct these types of reviews and evaluations. So we're excited about the path forward. We're really looking forward to it.
I think it's great. So unfortunately, it's time, because we are having some great conversation, but we need to check in with the studio. And then when we come back, I'd like to get into what tonight's topic is about. And that's the changes in the Caregiver Act. Does that sound good to you?
Sounds like a plan, Fred. Absolutely.
So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to drop into the studio. They're going to do a little PSA announcements. I appreciate you sticking with us. When we come back, Don and I will be talking about the Caregiver Act and the new things and the things that need to be worked on and how to get things going. So stick with us. This is Ben and Keeley with my guest, Don Overton, the Executive Director of the BVA. And we'll be right back. This is Wisdom for the Blind from Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale.
Wisdom for the Blind is dedicated to doing everything we can for the blind and sight impaired. If you'd like to bless us with a donation to keep the website, the podcast, the webinars, and the radio station operating, we can't express how grateful we'd be. You can go to the website at w4tb.org. That's w4tb.org and hit the donation button. Or you can mail it to Wisdom for the Blind Incorporated. Attention donations. 1005 Marine Mile Boulevard, Suite 255, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. 333 888-888-1515. Wisdom for the Blind is a not-for-profit 501c3 organization. Remember, it's tax deductible. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts at Wisdom for the Blind.
Ice cream. All the ice cream in my house, in the world, and most of my stuffed animals.
My video games and, my phone.
What would you give for your freedom? Would you give your eyesight? Would you give ever seeing the sunset again? Would you give the ability to see your children's future? Thousands of brave men and women who served in the United States Armed Forces have given their eyesight in defense of our freedom. And the Blinded Veterans Association wants to give them their freedom back, but it needs your help. Go to BVA.org to find out about how BVA's free programs and services, advocacy, education, peer support, scholarships, and more help America's heroes to not just deal with the emotional and physical issues of sudden sight loss or impairment, but actually work to get them back to the independent lives they deserve to live. Go to BVA.org to find out how you can make a difference. They fought for your independence, and by going to BVA.org, you can find out how to help these veterans regain theirs. Go to BVA.org today.
You're listening to W4TB Radio from the Wisdom for the Blind studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we share some wisdom to help you navigate the seas to stay in calm waters. Please visit us on the web at w4tb.org or drop us an email at feedback@w4tb.org. You can also download the W4TB radio app at the Apple Store or Google Play. Please share the knowledge and tell a friend. Now, back to the show.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for returning. This is Ben with Insight to the VA. Got a great good friend of mine, and our guest today is Don Overton, and we are talking about the Caregiver Act and the change. Hey, Don, thanks for sticking with us. So why don't we start off with where are we at today? Not the enhancements that you and I know about, but where are we at today in the failures and what we're trying to do about the Caregivers Act?
Yeah, I think when we look at caregiver right now, as you know, that there was a definitive breakdown at implementation when the legislation came through and the intent of Congress was not followed during rulemaking in the first go-round, and it created tremendous pain points, not just for blind veterans, but any veteran with a disability. And so rather than having the expanded access to that program, what we saw was a diminished access. There were more and more hurdles for folks to get through, and there were very strict and stringent interpretations of the intent of the legislation. And sometimes that can happen. And so we've been engaged with VA for several years, working with the team there and trying to prepare new rulemaking to reevaluate the original rulemaking and regulatory process around the legislation. That was open for public comment. It was on the Federal Register. The public comment period has closed. So traditionally what will happen now is VA will review all of the comments. They'll go back in. They'll take what their new proposed regs were. They'll either tweak them or not tweak them, but they'll literally have to respond to every comment that was received. What they'll do is they'll group the comments if they're like-minded comments. They'll group them and address them in mass in different areas. There were a tremendous number of comments that came in from across the area. So we're in that what we all learned in the military, that famous hurry up and wait mode right now. So we're going to be interested in seeing what comes out of this process, and so we won't know until we actually see the final regs get published. We do not have a timeline on when that's going to happen right now. So again, we're all in a bit of a hold pattern, and we'll sit and we'll watch and see what the outcome of that is.
So, if I'm not mistaken, most of the people, especially the blinded veterans or vision impaired vets, are getting denied because the qualifications for caregivers does not really address, filling your own medicine and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's always it's one of our I think our greatest challenges that we have all the time is no matter how hard we try, particularly for the blind and low vision community, unless you live with blindness, you don't understand blindness, right? If you met one blind veteran, you met one blind veteran, and it's such a huge universe of diversity within that landscape. And so there was a really, really stringent interpretation of looking at activities of daily living. And it wasn't just so much just the activities of daily living, right? The ability to dress oneself, the ability to shower. But it was a strict interpretation that, if you could do it one time in a week, then you did not qualify for caregiver benefits, which is a tremendous challenge. And so what we advocated for, and we didn't really get traction on it, was, aside from ADLs, where they take activities of daily living, there's something called IADLs, right? Independent activities of daily living. And these are things that most people that are dealing with vision loss are going to be challenged with. We can all go to a blind rehabilitation center and we can learn some basic, home economic skills of how to prepare some meals. We can get some assistive technology to kind of help us with measuring and doing, some of the different things. But there's always going to be challenges in our ability to be able to fully, execute, all meal preparations throughout the day. Our ability sometimes to be able to interpret, recipes and get different magnification and or reading devices to be able to engage effectively. So we felt that the IADLs were critically important to take into consideration. They didn't consider them in the new regs that were put out. We did comment again, and we will continue to push towards that approach. But interestingly, Ben, unbeknownst to me, and you'd think if anybody knew, it would be us at Blind and Veterans Association. But there was a little known program that's existing inside of the Department of Veterans Affairs. It's called the Veteran Directed Care Program. So it's the VDC, Veteran Directed Care Program. And when you look at that program, it's basically, it gives veterans of all ages the opportunity to receive the home and community services they need in a consumer-directed way. So what that does is it empowers you and I to then look at what are our unique needs and who can come in. Is it a family member that can help to support us? Is it a neighbor, or is it a licensed home health aide? But this program takes in the veteran-directed care, looks for people that need assistance with not just activities of daily living, but also those instrumental or independent activities of daily living, things like fixing meals or isolation. We talk about the transportation challenges. None of us until autonomous vehicles are mass deployed and we can all have an autonomous vehicle to get in and transport us places. Transportation is going to be a challenge for all of us, and we all have to try to coordinate that. Well, the Veteran-Directed Care Program takes that into consideration.
And I think that's a great story. For the record, I do have a Tesla sitting in my garage waiting for the laws to change.
It is great. And I'm blessed to work alongside a lot of the leaders in the autonomous vehicle sector and ride-hailing services like Waymo, and there's some other mass transit that are trying to alleviate some of the tension on VA campuses to be able to transport veterans from bus stops or from train stations and things that. So, there's a lot of momentum in that sector.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing, and I went ahead and invested in one. And not saying that I've never sat in the passenger seat with nobody in the front seat, but maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But it's a great tool, and I hope that the laws change very soon. So,
I agree with you. And just know that we're doing a lot on the policy front. For us right now, we've been working across the country. We worked out in California. We've worked in Arizona. We've actually had touch points in Florida. Now we're in the DMV, DC. Maryland, Virginia sector, and trying to work with the state legislatures on these types of policies.
And I know that the ADA Commission is trying to rewrite those rules in the higher level, hopefully that the states will follow. So I know there's some great movement going on that.
Absolutely.
So I want to jump back to the new program that you talked about.
Yep.
You and I have had a conversation before about this program, and I actually went to the Miami VA and the clinic tied to the Miami VA, and they don't know anything about it. They don't know how to apply for it or anything like that. So how do we educate the the fiscal coordinators or the social workers that these programs exist, because they don't know about it? You have to lead them to the website.
You do, and as a cautionary tale, I should have prefaced my comments by saying that this is a pilot program, so lo and behold, it's not available in every visit, it's not available everywhere, and I've requested and I've yet to receive the markets that it is available in, so unfortunately, you literally, Ben, have to kind of Google veteran-directed care in an area. Sometimes it's not even being administered at the local VMC, the VA Medical Center. Sometimes there's a community partner. And a lot of this drives through, although it's open to people of any age, it falls under the geriatric services umbrella within the VA medical centers. And it's typically the geriatric social workers that are going to have the subject matter expertise on this program since it's deployment. So that's an area. But we're going to be putting more and more resources and information out through Blinded Veterans Association. We'll make sure that you and your team get access to that so you can amplify that on your platforms as well, because to your point, right, knowledge is power. We want to empower every consumer out there of VA services to ensure that they're getting the maximum benefits they're entitled to.
And like you said, it's pretty hard. For example, Dade County has a program that utilizes Uber. So you can get your transportation picked up, special number through Uber, and they come get you, and it's all taken care of through the VA transportation. West Palm doesn't have that program. So we're talking 45 miles away, two different, scenarios.
Again, yeah, you're bringing up another, we were really big champions around rideshare from the blind community. We've been very successful in beginning to get traction and engagement on it, but it's another pilot, right? It's being tested, it's being assessed for any potential pain points, any risk, things along those lines. We do think that ultimately it is the best solution for VA versus kind of some of the cost prohibitive approaches right now for some of the travel and transportation programs that are out there. So we're hopeful that we can continue to expand it. We'll be advocating and championing for those changes, and we'll see where we go from there.
It sounds very exciting. And, it's real weird that, and it's not just transportation. It might be prosthetics and, everything around all that. But, one VA has no problem issuing one piece of equipment. The other V, when I say V, I'm talking about, the catchment area, has a problem with that item, and it's not approved, not on the list. And, you have to use this CCTV device, but this device is on the list, but it takes 6 months to get. The other one's readily available. And we see that mismatch all the time, just like we talked about the new program for home giving. Do you think there's any chance that there'll be a standard that this is the equipment available and you can get it, or a veteran be able to say, I saw this, what do we need to do to evaluate this?
Yeah, another area, Ben, that I always grapple with this. I've been involved in the advocacy space probably for too long at this point in time, but I remember quite some time back, I won't date myself too much, but we in the veteran service organization community advocated for advanced appropriations for the Veterans Health Administration. We never wanted veterans to be used during the political, government shutdown semantics and some of the games that are played in Washington, D.C., legislatively and with the various powers and such. And so we moved for advanced appropriations, and we felt as if we had the safety net in place. Unfortunately, Congress, in its infinite wisdom, with advanced appropriations and with VA, that's when we saw the Veteran Integrated Service Networks, the VISNs, established. And so what that did, and I'll use a term that I like to use, is it created these mini fiefdoms, right? So you have VA Central Office that's got the enterprise-wide kind of checkpoint in DC, but then each VISN, each of the integrated service networks, has its own policies and procedures, and we're sensitive to that, right? As you move across the country, you could be in a rural or a remote area versus an urban area. And so we understand what those challenges are. But then even further from that, it's evolved within the VISNs down to the VAMCs, again, VA medical centers, community-based outpatient clinics, those areas. And so, it's made it really, really difficult for us to advocate enterprise-wide given the current policies and procedures that are at play. We do everything that we can to try to address these concerns, but we're also happy, Blind and Veterans Association as an association, if there's folks out there that are struggling, that's what we do, right? We capture that information, we identify where the pain point is, we directly engage. First, through VA Central Office, we find out who our points of contact are at the local networks, and we directly engage with them with the support of the national office to overcome some of those challenges, particularly if it's impacting a blinded veteran or a low vision veteran's ability to be as independent as possible and have the highest quality of life. And so that's really our bread and butter. And so if there's anybody out there that's experiencing those challenges, we encourage them to reach out and connect with our team, and we'll be happy to help guide them through some of those challenges.
Well, the BVA has always been there, and you guys have a great team over there. Well, it's time for us to check back in and listen to a few more PSA announcements. Don, would you stick with us while we're jumping out there to the different people that help provide support for our organizations? And to our guest, we'll basically be right back. Don't leave us. We're going to finish up and finish up with Don and some of our great topics. So we'll be right back. Just stay with us.
I took a musket ball in Chancellorsville.
Hi, I'm Mike Byer, Executive Director for Operation Song, where we pair Nashville's songwriters with veterans, active duty military, and their families to tell their stories through the process of songwriting. Our services are 100% free, and songwriting or musical talent is not required. For more information, check us out at operationsong.org. If you think this is something you're interested in, email us at contact@operationsong.org.
Till the last Monday in May.
Hi, I'm Christina Hepner.
And I'm Leslie Hoskins, and we're hosts of the Taking the Lead podcast from Leader Dogs for the Blind.
Our podcast provides insight into the blindness community and impactful stories from our clients.
At Leader Dog, we continue to be the answer for thousands who need our free services. These include guide dog training, white cane training, and more. Once clients complete training, they're reintroduced to a life of safety and independence.
Learn more at leaderdog.org.
You're listening to W4TB Radio from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we share some wisdom to help you navigate the seas to stay in calm waters. Please visit us on the web at w4tb.org or drop us an email at feedback@w4tb.org. You can also download the W4TB radio app at the Apple Store or Google Play. Please share the knowledge and tell a friend. Now, back to the show.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for sticking around. This is Ben, and I'm with our guest today, Don Overton from the BVA Blind Veterans Association in D.C., actually a national organization all around the United States. And we're talking about different subjects that deal with the VA and new programs. Don, thanks for sticking with us. Again, the last segment had a lot of great information. Anything that you think that we should talk about that we missed in regards to the way things are handled and the direction that they're going with the Caregivers Act?
Again, we'll wait until we see the promulgation of the new rulemaking. Once we see that, we'll know where we need to focus some additional energy as far as whether it's legislative approaches. And at that point, we'll look to engage with as many stakeholders out there as possible to ensure that we share the stories of what exactly our folks are experiencing out there as a result of if it ends up being a flawed rulemaking process again, that they have yet again disenfranchised blind and low vision veterans, which unfortunately tends to happen all too often.
And I appreciate that. For our listeners out there, remember that most states have a regional group that you can participate in, but most important, the ambassador program. Almost, if I'm not mistaken, John, every state has at least one ambassador, and most all the medical facilities have one assigned. Is that a fair statement, or are we getting close to that? So.
Yeah, we're scaling towards that, and obviously it's not mutually exclusive to Blind and Veterans Association. We see it in a lot of the other veteran service organizations. We're sensitive to the fact you touched on the regional groups, and there's challenges for folks out there. The pandemic was really, I think, intensified how challenging it is to engage at the local level. We've talked in this segment alone about transportation challenges for our community and such. So we're sensitive that the regional groups have challenges from a national perspective. BVA and others are shifting more towards that member-centric model, which, as you've been able to be one of the initial guinea pigs in understanding the ambassador program and empowering the individual member and finding that sense of community, our hope is to now kind of move away from that old regional group model and further empower our visual impairment service team coordinators. Almost every VIS coordinator, part of their requirement is that they host support groups for blinded veterans. We want to try to get ambassadors there to, again, help to support those VIS coordinators through VA Community Development Civic Engagement, formerly known as VA Voluntary Services, to get in there, track those hours. Our association benefits from having those hours tracked at the national level, but it will also help individuals that are looking to make a difference in the lives of other veterans. It's a unique opportunity. It helps to support the service line and blind rehabilitation service that supports us and the VIS coordinators, as we talked about earlier, that are overworked. And so we're really going to start shifting a lot of energy towards getting those folks empowered and then move towards that state coordinator and then down to the different VIS coordinator support groups and really look at that model of a way to get member engagement, new member recruitment, but also be of support, right? Look for ways, whether that is, getting folks out, bowling with the VIS coordinators or doing different activities, that are available, or just feeding people, right? Pizza party, sandwiches, opportunities to get down there and really help to engage, break bread, share common experiences, support one another, and move this mission forward. And so we're excited about these new initiatives coming soon.
I'm also want to throw this thing in there. Now is the time to join the BVA and participate, because if I'm not mistaken, Don, your last convention, you guys did away with the membership fees, and it's totally free, so it's a no-brainer for our veterans. Is that true?
It is true, and Ben, you bring up a good point. It's not just that, but any time that we're on Capitol Hill, and again, we realize we're never going to be the biggest. We're never going to be the biggest veteran service organization, nor are we trying to be. But there is strength in numbers, and so we do encourage folks. It's a pretty simple, straightforward membership application on bva.org. There's a membership tab. Complete that membership. We're happy to have you. You'll be getting. We don't overwhelm you. But we'll share communications with you. We'll share, things of interest. We do a weekly e-newsletter. We have a print publication. We're doing podcasting as well in some different areas. And then our team BVA is really getting ready to ratchet up. We're finally able to get that program back up and operational after the pandemic, and we're going to be basically in partnership with the Department of Veterans Affairs Adaptive Sports Clinics. So looking at the winter and summer sports clinics, the Creative Arts Festival, the Tea Tournament, which is the golf tournament, the Golden Age Games, any of those types of opportunities. So there'll be funding available through Blinded Veterans Association to support members getting out and participating in those activities.
That's great things to hear. And one of the things that, Don didn't mention, it's a great support group. So you have an opportunity to meet other veterans, maybe in your local community, also the state. But some of the secrets that aren't well known is that the VVA National has their own service officers that work on your claims. They have great activities, such as, like Don was mentioning, kayaking and ski trips and things like that. And the most important thing to remember with the BVA is they're your voice to government. They're your voice to Congress. And they basically put it all together and basically allow you guys to have a voice up in D.C.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. Obviously, our accredited national service officers, free claims representation, and then if we have to go all the way as far as, after the Board of Veterans Appeals is the Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims, and we've got a great team of attorneys that can pick up if we ever have to adjudicate that far. But we have seen, Ben, tremendous results out of our team. I can't even begin to tell you how life-changing it's been for so many individuals of late. We've been seeing, retroactive claim awards in 6 figures for individuals, and so what we love about what we're able to do is the quality of our service delivery through that team. They really scrutinize every decision. They look for opportunities to advance and enhance benefits. A lot of folks out there think, I got 100% service connection, I'm done. Well, there's a whole other layer under special monthly compensation. We move from numbers to letters, and most people that are dealing with vision loss are going to qualify for special monthly compensation awards, and those are exponential increases oftentimes. And so we encourage folks to reach out. We're happy to take a look and just make sure that you are receiving all of your earned benefits.
So, and I have to, full disclosure, the BVA did my claim, and my claim was a little unique. I was exposed to Agent Orange. This was before the PACT Act, but my voice helped a little in getting the PACT Act passed. Not saying that was the only voice, but from there we got my claim done, and it was taken care of very professionally with the team over at the BVA. Don and I know that we have one little thing that we need to work on. That's the Grandparents Act. And hopefully Don and I will be able to start working on that, because I'm sure there's a lot of grandparents out there that have custody of their grandkids. And, I know that we're going to work on that. Don, any comments on that one?
Yeah, obviously, Ben, I'm interested because I have a lot of touch points in that area as well, and I really appreciate you identifying areas of opportunity, and I think you're 100% correct. There's all too often too many individuals that fall into that demographic, and there's no support for them because it was just an oversight. Again, when you look at that rulemaking and the regulatory process and implementation of policy, sometimes these are things that slip through the cracks, and so we definitely need to revisit that area and ensure that these individuals are being compensated for raising, those generations of family members, for sure.
So that being said, what I'd like to do, Don, now is just go to what I want to call a rapid question. I'm just going to ask a question and a brief answer on how you think that's going to impact. Is that fair?
Sounds like a plan.
So the first question I got for you is, with all the changes coming down with the change in the White House, do you see that the funding for new features or advancements such as the glasses or a CCTV device, is that going to be impacted by some of the new rules coming out and trying to cut the budgets and stuff?
It will not. And as far as prosthetic and sensory aid go, we know what a game changer they are. I don't see anything being impacted there, nor have we heard any, even hints or whispers around, discontinuing issuance of any of these types of devices.
Thank you. So my next question is, again, back to the executive orders that were put out. One of them was that that there's going to be a freeze on hiring federal employees. With that freeze and all the openings we have for VIS coordinators and bros, what do you think the impact of that one's going to be?
There's going to be an impact, and we're trying to analyze that right now. I don't know if it's come across your radar yet, but there was an internal memo that was leaked out of VA, and it looks like there's the potential for another 80,000 VA employees to be released from service. And so I know Congress is working that now. This all just occurred in the last 24 hours with the leaking of that memo, and so we don't have a lot of details on it. But there's definitely going to be an impact. But that just offers an opportunity for advocacy and for corrective action. We're already seeing that to a large extent, Ben, in that some folks that were released in some of these mass releases of federal employees have already been reinstated and brought back in. So it really becomes a case-by-case approach for us and allowing the government to do some of this reset right now.
All right. Another question, getting away from the government. How does one find out, about the BVA? Where would they go to find out that information, and also find out about some of the events like the skiing trips or with the Team VA and contacting a claim officer? I believe there's a direct input form for claims on your website. So how would one do that?
Yeah, the easiest thing is to direct to the website, bva.org, Bravo Victor Alpha Oscar Romeo Golf, so bva.org. It's that simple, and key that into your browser. It'll take you to the page. I would encourage folks, we're doing a lot of website overhaul right now. It's always a constant work in progress, but there's a calendar that's tabbed there. Most of the events are there. You'll see everything from, weekly. We do vet tech sessions where we engage on new and existing technologies that enhance our quality of life. We have the ambassador sessions. There's town halls. All of the details are there. Almost every one of those sessions are hosted via Zoom, so it's direct links. Everybody's welcome. You don't even have to be a member if you want to just take things for a test ride and kick the tires. But yeah, explore the website. The Veteran Service Program is our claims team. There's an intake form there that you can complete with ease. That'll go directly into the accredited National Service Office queue. You'll be contacted by one of the individuals to do some intake and explore opportunities to help serve you. And Team BVA, as I stated earlier, Ben, we're just at the point now where we are finalizing some of the policy directives, and so you'll begin to see here in the coming weeks the population of the upcoming events and opportunities, what the application process is for that, and then how that reimbursement. It'll basically be a reimbursement. One of the things that we found out is so many veterans want to get out to those clinics, but travel's only covered oftentimes for a first-time participant, sometimes for a second-time scaled down. So we're creating a funding opportunity for our members to be able to get travel stipends to help offset the expense so they can get out there and participate in those events. So keep your eyes and ears open on that. There'll be, again, more and more upcoming information populating into the website on that.
Sounds good. So my last question, Don, on the website, or is there any way available to find out the closest ambassador to where our veteran may live that they can reach out and talk to them?
Not yet, but that's another area. So what we're looking to do is we're kind of restructuring and revamping some of the internal pages right now. And that's what we want to do. What we want to do is make this as easy as possible for individuals. So we do have on the back end of the website, we just have to populate all of the information now, but it'll be basically a zip code lookup tool. You'll just have to enter your zip code. And we want that to be able to then populate who the VIS coordinator is, who the nearest ambassador is, and or we want to be sensitive to the regional groups that are operating in those areas as well, and make sure that we do not overlook leadership at their RG levels. And so we want folks to realize what assets and resources associated with Blind and Veterans Association are available in their immediate vicinity.
Great. So that's my rapid questions. Don, you can get a drink of water now.
Take a breath, man.
Yeah. And now, getting into the end of the podcast, is there anything that you think that I should have asked you that I didn't, or something that you wished that we could cover?
I think for me, Ben, and I'll share, I don't think it's breaking news. I've publicly announced it multiple times, but I am transitioning out of the role as the executive director at Blind and Veterans Association. I'm not leaving. I promised the board when I accepted this position almost 6 years ago that I would give them 3 to 5 years. That was not a misstatement. When I accepted 6 years ago, I said 3 to 5 years. And so we're in the interviewing process right now. We did kind of close out the candidate pool. We've been having some phenomenal interviews. I'm excited about who my successor is going to be, but I will actually be transitioning out of this role, but I will be taking lead on the resumption of the care review program, and I will actually be serving. Right now, we think it's going to be the Inspector General will be the title, so I will assume that title with a direct report both to Congress, to the Department of Veterans Affairs, and to BVA in the execution of the care review program. So I'm excited to be able to build something new to dedicate and focus my energy. And then that's going to allow me to come down and spend some time with you, brother.
I look forward to it, my friend.
I'm looking forward to it as well. And let Gabe know, Mr. Gambino, that we'll be there soon.
I'll let him know next time. I talk to him every day, but I'll definitely let him know the next time he asks me that question. But that's exciting, and I always love spending time with you. With that being said, one of the phone calls that I'm receiving a lot of, and maybe the answer is what you just said, when somebody goes to either a clinic or to the hospital for a stay, or they go through the civilian hospital and then transfer over to the VA, they find out that the staff aren't really well trained on how to identify a blind or vision impaired person. Like, they'll deliver your food and walk away, and you don't even know your food's there, or take the time to say, at 12 o'clock, you got a chicken breast, things like that. Is that, if a veteran has an issue like that and likes to get it addressed, would that be your new role?
To a large extent, we are actively engaged right now, and we are feeling positive that the VA uses a system called TMS, the Talent Management System, and that's what does a lot of their different training, everything from HIPAA training, privacy, things along those lines. But there is a new module in there around blind sensitivity training. It is not, unfortunately, a mandatory training. We're trying to work for all new employee orientation to allow the VIS coordinators to do even a brief presentation, but then we want to look for the opportunity. When we go and do different events, or when we have annual convention, our teams go in advance and we do sensitivity training with staff. And anybody that's ever attended our convention knows that everybody from somebody that's in the kitchen, helping to prepare meals, to housekeeping staff, to desk clerks, you name it. People in engineering, they all know how to interact with a blind person after sitting through a 1-hour training session. They know how to perform sighted guide. They know how to do the things that you're talking about with orientation and those types of challenges. So it isn't a heavy lift. We're fighting for it. One of the things that we tried to champion in the past was there's different flags that pop up on computer screens at VA. But there's so many flags at this point that nobody even pays attention to them anymore because there's just too many, right? So we're all struggling with it. I still marvel at, walking into my own clinic, no matter how many times I'm there, and they all know who I am and what my role is. And I walk in with my cane and I have my glasses on, and the first thing my wife tells me is, yep, the check-in clerk's over there waving at you, and they have the clipboard in hand for you. Yeah. How much more insensitive can you be? I don't see you waving at me, and why are you going to hand me a clipboard?
Exactly. That reminds me of a funny, it actually pissed me off at the time, but I was at the eye clinic, and I was waiting to queue up to make my next appointment, and the clerk looked at me and said, "You need to be behind the red line." I'm with my cane, and I'm like, "Excuse me?" And I'm like, "The eye clinic, you don't know what this cane means?" It's like, I don't see the red line.
I marvel all the time. The pharmacy is always my favorite, and I bring it up on the hill all the time. As you go over to the pharmacy, and the whole mentality is wait for your number to come up on the bingo board. Okay, I'm going to be here all day because I'm never going to know that my number came.
Exactly.
Thanks.
Yeah. What I do is I get my little ticket and then I take it to the staff member that's making changes to your meds and say, I'm blind. What's this number? So,
Exactly. No, we find workarounds, but we shouldn't have to. But I think that's the whole point. That's what we're trying to do. These are not. The biggest thing for folks to understand is these are not radical changes, right? Sensitivity isn't radical. If we can get some basic things like wayfinding. Wayfinding technology is so simple at this point. There's companies out there that are using just basic QR code stickers, but for us to be able to walk in, imagine if your VA medical center had wayfinding in it so that you're on your smart device and maybe you're using your AI-powered glasses and it's telling you, proceed down this hall, turn right, elevator to your left. This is not difficult stuff to do to give us the level of independence to be able to really be the drivers of our own consumption of VA services. And so, there's better ways forward. There's a lot of technology out there, but again, unless we have a seat at the table, it takes me back, just to the Federal Advisory Committee. That would be an opportunity to really make sure that this stuff is on the forefront. And more importantly, when VA is building new facilities, they just opened, Ben, a state-of-the-art here where I live, and I moved here because this new healthcare center was opening. It's larger than a community-based outpatient clinic, but it's short of a VA medical center. But it's a huge, huge facility, and we went to the grand opening of it, and there's no accessibility features whatsoever taken into consideration. So we already have a brand new facility, and we're going to have to remediate it where this stuff could have been taken into consideration during construction.
That's totally amazing. Well, it's time for us to check back in, and what we're going to do now is we're going to drop into the studio and talk to Alex, and she's going to tell us what's happening around the states. And when we come back, Don, we're going to wrap it up. Stick with me for one more second. This has been with my guest, Don Overton, and this is Insight to the VA, coming to you from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale. We'll be right back.
Thank you, Ben. And to our listeners, thank you for dropping in today to listen to Insight to the VA with our host, Benjamin Keeley. The National Call Center for Homeless Veterans, a key initiative from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, offers vital support for veterans in need. Available 24/7, this free, confidential service is designed to connect veterans and their families with a range of resources that can help them secure housing, find shelter, or access necessary healthcare services. The center helps veterans address homelessness by guiding them to both immediate and long-term solutions, such as emergency shelter, housing support, and medical services. The National Call Center's trained staff works closely with veterans to understand their needs and provide personalized guidance. Whether a veteran is dealing with mental health issues, substance abuse, or financial hardships, the center's professional team can help direct them to the appropriate VA facility or community partner to receive the support they need. The VA's National Call Center for Homeless Veterans plays a crucial role in addressing the ongoing issue of veteran homelessness in the United States. It provides immediate assistance, as well as ongoing support to veterans struggling with housing instability and other challenges. By connecting them to essential services, the center helps veterans regain control of their lives and achieve long-term stability. In our next order of business, Apple Incorporated has announced a substantial $500 billion investment in the United States over the next 4 years, aiming to bolster its manufacturing capabilities and technological advancements. A key component of this initiative is the establishment of a 250,000 square foot facility in Houston, Texas, dedicated to producing artificial intelligence servers. This move underscores Apple's commitment to enhancing its AI infrastructure and creating thousands of jobs in the region. Apple's $500 billion investment in the U.S. signifies a strategic commitment to strengthening its manufacturing capabilities, advancing AI technologies, and contributing to economic growth. The establishment of the Houston facility and the creation of thousands of jobs highlight Apple's dedication to innovation and its role in shaping the future of technology in America. As the company continues to expand its presence and operations, this bold move is expected to inspire further investment in U.S. tech and manufacturing sectors, with potential long-term benefits for the nation's economy and workforce. In our last story, Pope Francis, 88, remains under close medical supervision at Rome's Gemelli Hospital after being admitted on February 14, 2025, due to a case of bilateral pneumonia. The Vatican has assured the public that while the pontiff's condition remains serious, he has shown signs of stability. Despite his illness, Pope Francis continues to engage in limited papal duties, demonstrating his unwavering commitment to his role as the leader of the Catholic Church. In addition to pneumonia, Pope Francis is reportedly dealing with mild renal insufficiency. While this condition remains under control, his overall health remains a point of concern due to his medical history. The pontiff had part of one lung removed as a young man due to an infection, which makes respiratory illnesses particularly risky for him. This, coupled with previous hospitalizations for bronchitis and intestinal surgery, has led to heightened vigilance among his medical team. Given Pope Francis' pre-existing health conditions, his medical team is closely monitoring his recovery. The Vatican continues to provide regular updates, reassuring the public that while his condition is serious, he remains stable and in good spirits. This has been Ellie from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios. Thank you for tuning in. Now back to you, Ben.
96 years old, but the stories that he told were like something from a Hollywood movie.
Hi, this is Mike Byer, retired Army First Sergeant and Executive Director for Operation Song. Do you love a good story and great music? Then head over to the App Store or Google Play and download our Operation Song app. The Operation Song app is filled with patriotic songs and videos containing the stories of our nation's heroes. You can also see more great content on our YouTube page, and don't forget to like us on social media.
A torpedo hit his ship, and to this day still lives with the fact his buddies died, but somehow he survived.
The VA estimates that 130,000 veterans in the U.S. are legally blind, and over 1 million more are living with low vision. These heroes have sacrificed so much, and at Wisdom for the Blind, we're committed to giving back. We provide resources, connection, and life-changing support to help them navigate life with confidence. But we can't do it alone. We're a listener-supported organization, and your one-time or monthly gift helps us continue this mission. Stand with us in honoring our veterans. Donate today at w4tb.org. Click the big red Donate Now button and share the wisdom. Thank you for your support.
Thousands of brave men and women who served in the United States Armed Forces have given their eyesight in defense of our freedom. And the Blinded Veterans Association wants to give them their freedom back. But it needs your help. Go to bva.org to find out about how BVA's free programs, services, advocacy, and more help America's heroes to not just deal with the emotional and physical issues of sudden sight loss or impairment, but actually work to get them back to the independent lives they deserve to live. Go to bva.org today.
You're listening to W4TB Radio from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we share some wisdom to help you navigate the seas to stay in calm waters. Please visit us on the web at w4tb.org or drop us an email at feedback@w4tb.org. You can also download the W4TB radio app at the Apple Store or Google Play. Please share the knowledge and tell a friend. Now, back to the show.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to another great episode of Insights of the VA, produced by Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale. Don, you and I talk all the time. I learn a lot. You've been a mentor to me since I started Wisdom now 3 years ago, and we have over 8,000 subscribers. So I really appreciate your mentor and your friendship and your support. Did we leave anything out, Don? Anything that you want to talk about?
I really don't think we did, Ben. I just want to commend you. Obviously, your advocacy is phenomenal. I'm so proud of your accomplishments. You've overcome tremendous adversity, and you continue to champion the mission, and that's so critically important. We want to encourage others out there to look for opportunities. There are so many that are out there, and explore opportunities. If we're missing something at Blinded Veterans Association that you feel is an area that we can help to either improve quality of life, or reach out to us. We're always exploring new opportunities, and we welcome that opportunity. And Ben, if it's all right with you, I'll just share contact information.
Yeah, please do. Please.
And the easiest thing is, through the website again, it's bva.org, Bravo Victor Alpha, Oscar Romeo Golf. You can also send an email to bva@bva.org. That's fielded by several members on staff. They're able to direct to the appropriate team that's on there, or you can always reach out and we'll share the toll-free number, which is 800-669-7079. And only because I am sensitive to being blind myself, I will say that again, 800-669-7079. And you can always just go to the Blinded Veterans Association into that. Most of this stuff will populate, but we're here for you. We welcome the opportunity to engage with you. And we even listen to the criticism. Yes, we take criticism as long as it's constructive criticism. If you're calling just to yell at somebody, we'll hear you, but we won't yell back at you. I'll promise you that.
Well, that's good to hear. And so I want to, again, thank you for our friendship. You really have been a good mentor as I've gone this road of creating wisdom for the blind, and especially our friendship. And 3 years now, the BVA and Wisdom for the Blind have worked together in many roles, and it was a little touchy in the beginning, but we worked through it, and now we have a good rapport, and we work very close together. So, Don, I want to personally thank you for all that.
Likewise, Ben. I can't thank you enough, and I can't compliment and commend you enough. I'm super, super proud, and most of the folks on our team are. We're always excited when we see somebody succeed, and you are certainly succeeding, my friend. So keep up the great work, keep up the fight, keep fighting the good fight, and we'll continue to be here for you, sir.
Thank you very much. So I just want to remind the audience that on May 2nd, we have our fishing trip, our annual fishing trip out of Clearwater, Florida. It's not too late to register for that. Breakfast and lunch is included. Great boat, a little scary, but when I was 16, I was the third mate on that boat, but she's still sailing good and was just remodeled. I won't tell you how old I am, though. And
it's got to be a wooden hull, Ben. A wooden hull?
No, it's a beautiful fiberglass vessel, catamaran, all-day fishing trip. It's a great run. And then it's the Double Eagle 3 if you want to look it up. On the 8th, we started something new this year. We have added a fishing trip out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. That's going to be a half-day run from 12 o'clock until about 5. Again, lunch will be served, and that's going to be a great opportunity. So we have Field C events this Friday. Real excited. We worked with the National Drag Strip Organization, and we're taking 10 veterans up to the VIP box in Gainesville, the Gator Nationals. And the event, we call them Field of Sea events. You might not be able to see it, but I guarantee you when that dragster goes down, you'll be able to feel it. So those are the 3 Field of Sea events coming up. And look for next year. We've already signed an agreement with the Gator National. We'll be taking 40 to 50 veterans next year for the same experience. And finally, I want to let people know the yearly forum, which is our educational session, is going to be out of Baltimore on the Carnival Pride. Again, 7-day cruise that we have 25 classes and entertainment and a bunch of great fun things. You get to meet fellow veterans and our mentor program with the youth that we work with that are blind. We put that together, and that's going to go to Bermuda, and that's on October 19th. So look for all of that. Don, thanks again. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to another great podcast, Insight to the VA. Look for some more dialogue coming back. And remember that we have 18 webinars and podcasts every month. And if you want to contribute and sponsor a podcast, you can find that on the website, W4TB. That's the number 4.org. That's W4TB.org. And Donnie, realize one thing, your mentorship has got me to stop saying www.
Good on you, man.
From one of our first meetings and podcasts together. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again. This has been Keeley with my guest, Don Overton. We're coming to you from Fort Lauderdale studio. I want to thank our producer, Bree, and hope to see you back on another event. You guys have a great evening. And remember, tell people about us and love your neighbors. We love you. Bye.
At Wisdom for the Blind, we believe in the power of shared knowledge, connection, and support. Every story, every event, and every resource we offer is made possible because of you. We are a listener-supported organization, and your generosity keeps the wisdom flowing. With a one-time or monthly gift, you help us bring encouragement, community, and life-changing resources to those who need it most. Join us today, because wisdom is a gift meant to be shared. Donate at w4tb.org. Click the red Donate Now button, and thank you in advance for your generosity.
I was a wide-eyed kid with time to spare for listening. He was a soldier in a war with a heart that kept on giving. I used to take him a cheer wine and a slice of mama's pie, sit down beside his rocking chair, and he'd tell me about life. His second tour overseas got the better of his eyes. What it took from his vision, he more than gained inside. Probably asking things you shouldn't, but he never seemed to care. There was a world of wisdom painted in the memories he'd shared. Turning out the lights doesn't have to leave you in the dark. Sometimes you see with your ears and you hear with your heart. You wanna find the calm waters, you gotta navigate the seas. Love ain't just a word you say, and freedom don't come free. Just a few things that a blind man helped me see. In all the time that I knew him, I never knew him to complain. He'd rather carry on about trucks, ships, trains, and jet airplanes. We laughed until we cried and talked until we prayed. When the storms of life roll in, I think back to those days. Turn out the lights doesn't have to leave you in the dark. Sometimes you see with your ears and you hear with your heart. You wanna find the calm waters, you gotta navigate the seas. Love ain't just a word you say, and freedom don't come free. Just a few things that a blind man helped me see. Oh, he helped me see. Turn out the lights doesn't have to leave you in the dark. Sometimes you see with your ears and you hear with your heart. You wanna find the calm waters, you gotta navigate the seas. Love ain't just a word you say, and freedom don't come free. Just a few things that a blind man helped me see. Help me see.
You've been listening to Insight to the VA. The VA is there for veterans like us, but sometimes it can be difficult for people to navigate. And that's why we're here. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like, rate, and review. And make sure to tell a friend or two. That would help as well. Produced by Wisdom for the Blind and VNS Productions, a division of VNS International. From the Wisdom for the Blind studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, this is Insight to the VA, signing off.